Now, former India captain Sourav Ganguly will be the next president of the Indian Cricket Board, the BCCI, with elections unlikely to be held at the BCCI's annual general meeting. That's on the 23rd of October. In fact, he arrived at the BCCI office a short while ago to file his nomination. Also there was Jay Shah, Amit Shah's son, who has filed his nomination for the secretary's position, while Anurag Thakur's brother is likely to become the treasurer. So let's find out how all this came about, because there was a lot of drama in the background, and Rika Roy has all those details of how this decision finally came about. Rika, it was a dinner at a five-star hotel where Mr. Srinivas actually thought that he was going to push his candidate through, but there was another side, Anurag Thakur's side, and finally Sourav Ganguly has emerged the winner.
Well, Gargi, a couple of things. I don't think there were sides to begin with. Mr. Srinivasan had called for this meeting. In fact, he'd organized this dinner at a five-star hotel for about 100 BCCI members, for them to be on his side, to garner votes for his man, Brijesh Patel. Everything was going fine until about 9:15, 9:20 last night, when few of the members really said that we can't have the gentleman back in the board, or his proxy back in the board, for whom the BCCI went through this ignominy. BCCI had to, in fact, BCCI was dragged to court. This court case happened since 2013. There was no democracy in BCCI. A court-appointed administrator, the Committee of Administrators, ruled the BCCI. For the first time, democracy is going to be restored in the board on October 23rd after that annual general meeting. They said, we can't have that man back in the board. We need another candidate, which is when Anurag Thakur proposed Sourav Ganguly's name, and instantly he got backing from all the northeastern states. Even the western states backed him. We do know at this point that this decision wasn't off the cuff. There were discussions before, because Sourav Ganguly 2 nights back had met a very powerful union minister and discussed the whole deal, if I may say, and Anurag Thakur was just taking that deal forward. Today, he has right now gone in to file his nomination papers. Today is the last date for filing nominations. Along with him, Jay Shah, the son of Amit Shah, is also filing his nomination papers to become the secretary of BCCI, and Arun Dhumal, who is Anurag Thakur's brother, will be the treasurer. This panel is final. Let's go over to my colleague Saurabh Gupta, who's been covering all the drama since morning. Saurav, I really have to ask you about those pictures that we saw of Sourav Ganguly getting in with Mr. Srinivasan behind. What does that really tell you? Because Sourav Ganguly was not Mr. Srinivasan's candidate. He was not proposed as his name was not proposed to become the president. Did Mr. Srinivasan look a tad bit dissatisfied this morning?
Stoic is the word I would use to explain his expression, but Mr. Srinivasan didn't look. I mean, wasn't looking elated at all. But everything seemed to be planned to precision. I mean, they all walked in. They knew what this was going to be. They all knew that this was a consensus candidate. They knew these things had been decided. And you also saw the regular faces in the BCCI. For example, Rajiv Shukla was there, Niranjan Shah was there. And these are people who've been associated with the BCCI for a long time. Also, you saw Jay Shah, and Jay Shah was almost leading the pack
about Rajiv Shukla.
as far as, walking into BCCI.
Sorry, yes. You mentioned about Rajiv Shukla.
Was also there. In fact, Rajiv Shukla...
No, I'll have to ask you a question about him, because his association has been disqualified. They won't be voting. Did you get a word from him whether they are moving, the 8 associations have been disqualified, whether they are going to move Supreme Court or not?
All of them refused to speak. In fact, I tried asking Sourav Ganguly for comments. Jay Shah, of course, said, I'm not going to speak now. Rajiv Shukla also refused to speak, except to say that let's get things sorted, and let's then decide on who will speak or not. In fact, he was the one who was sort of ushering everyone in.
Ushering everyone
because
in?
There were all cameras in. Rajiv Shukla. So obviously, Mr. Shukla didn't want to speak to the media, nor did anyone else. But you could make out that they all knew what this was, that the consensus candidate was going to be Saurav Ganguly. And everybody had a whiff of all the background negotiations that had been going on, the backroom talks that had been going on.
Saurav,
so
since you cover politics as well, let me ask you this question. Do you see that the BCCI reins have moved from Congress to BJP right now, with so many of the influential people now coming from either BJP backed states or being backed by BJP politicians?
Well, the answer to that is very simple. If you look behind me, and there's a plaque that marks the commemoration of the inauguration of the BCCI headquarters, and it says it's been inaugurated by Sharad Pawar, who is the NCP candidate. So obviously Sharad Pawar's name is right there on that plaque, and obviously this is something that is significant to the fact that who was holding power in BCCI at this point, till now at this point. But
now things have
right
changed.
Now that has all changed, because Sharad Pawar no longer around in the BCCI, at least its influence no longer that visible. One would remember the times, those legendary elections that were held in Calcutta against Mr. Bindra, if I recall that name correctly, and how Sharad Pawar had a role to play in all of that. All of that seems to have moved now to a new generation of Anurag Thakur and Jay Shah. And clearly there is that shift, and like we've been reporting, Rika, the linkages between cricket and politics have always been there. But obviously
it's intertwined, really. Let me go. Saurav, just be with me. Just bear with me right now. Be there online. I have also got Deputy Sports Editor of The Hindu, Mr. Vijay Lokpalli, with me. Mr. Lokpalli, would you say that all of this happened in true BCCI style, the coup that was pulled off by Saurav Ganguly and his men last night?
I think, Rika, I don't think you should be surprised, because that's the way BCCI has always functioned. You think somebody would be the national coach, and it turns out to be that he was never in the reckoning. And same applies to these officials. And all these people you have been discussing, they have been involved in building the BCCI. So they can attend meetings. There is no bar on them attending the meeting. They've just entered the cricket center, so that doesn't apply. They're not breaking any rule. But I think there is nothing surprising. That's how the BCCI functions, and they've shown that when it comes to delivering, they are the best united.
Are you also talking? Are you also insinuating conflict of interest? Because Saurav Ganguly, the would-be president of BCCI, is also a mentor for the Delhi Capitals team.
Well, we'll have to see. I think he'll probably give up all those posts. He can serve his tenure at the BCCI and then go back to the cricket field anytime. Anybody would welcome him back to the cricket grounds. But here, his role assumes great importance. I think it's the best thing.
Could you please elucidate on that? Why does Saurav Ganguly's role assume great importance? How would it be different in having a former cricket captain as the president of Board of Control for Cricket in India?
Well, it's not the first time that a cricketer has become an important administrator. He has been handling the CAB. If you see, he's made a lot of changes. But I think it will be good. He will have cricket matters in the forefront. He will deal with all cricket matters, which I think he has already mentioned. He will concentrate on first-class cricket, the cricketers, and issues related to cricket. So administration can be handled by the Apex Council. But I think Saurav has a clear-cut role for him.
But he only has 10 months on him, after which he will have to go into the cooling off period. Do you think 10 months is a good time for Saurav Ganguly to do the kind of work that he envisages to do?
You know, Rika, if you remember, Saurav Ganguly made a huge impact as a captain in his first cricket tournament. The first tournament, first time he led India. So I think he needs only 6 months to make an impact. 10 months is is, I think, 4 months of bonus he is getting. So I expect him to deliver. And let us see if he stays for 10 months or he completes the whole tenure.
Mr. Lokpally, before I let you go, one question I have to ask you about, this whole thing about conflict of interest, and it doesn't end because what we do understand is that Vikram Rathor's brother is also going to be a part of the current set of administrators, and there are other people as well. And politics, cricket, they still remain intertwined. Is it good for Indian cricket? Not good for Indian cricket?
See, Vikram Rathod is doing a good job. We've already seen that. He as the batting coach. So how would it be? How is his Anurag Thakur's brother going to influence?
I am talking about Vikram Rathor's brother now, not Anurag Thakur's brother. Vikram Rathor's brother is also in the BCCI now.
He's in Punjab Cricket Association, and he's not going there to.
I'm talking about Rakesh Rathor here.
Yes, Rakesh Rathor has been involved with cricket for more than 20 years in Punjab, so he's not a new face. And in any case, he is not going there to pick his brother. He's a Punjab Cricket Association's representative with a clear mandate from the association what he has to do. So I don't think there is this conflict of issue is I think I don't understand it.
Also, one last thing before I let you go. Mr. Srinivasan and his group going from the BCCI. Now, what does that mean really?
No, it means nothing. He will back Sourav Ganguly, and Sourav is going to have all the support from the Srinivasan group, including if you see the manner in which Brijesh Patel has agreed to become to let go this post of presidentship. But I think Sourav will benefit from Srinivasan's support.
Right, Sourav will benefit from Mr. Srinivasan's support. He's also been mentored by a former BCCI president, Jagmohan Dalmia. Thank you very, very much, Mr. Vijay Lokpally, for joining us on that show. Let me go back to my colleague Saurabh Gupta, who is at the Cricket Centre in Mumbai. Saurabh, now take us through the election process. Will there be an election held on October 23rd? What is the timeline for knowing whether or not there will be an election?
Well, today being the last date of filing nominations, if these are only consensus candidates, if there are no contenders, no one standing up against them, then obviously I think an election is ruled out, given that there are only consensus candidates, and they will officially perhaps be announced on the 23rd. But it's quite clear that, from the people who went in and from the kind of nominations that we are going to see being filed, that there isn't going to be a candidate who is going to sort of challenge the names that have been agreed upon as a consensus. And Sourav Ganguly's heading the BCCI as consensus candidate is something that's quite clear at this point. Jay Shah, secretary. But again, I was just watching their body language when they walked in, and it was quite clear who was in charge. And Jay Shah seemed to also exude a certain degree of authority as he walked in. Both Sourav Ganguly and Jay Shah, along with N. Srinivasan behind them.
Saurabh, I'll have to ask you one last question because my director is asking me to wrap. The question is, tell me about Jay Shah, because he is not even a member or, in the panel of Gujarat Cricket Association. How did his name come up? How was he nominated as the board's, as GCA's representative in these elections? He resigned actually
at the
from
moment,
GCA.
what we've been given to understand is that his name was nominated by the board, the Gujarat cricket body, and that's where his name came from. And we're being given to understand that he was nominated by them. But beyond that, I'll have to find out how exactly his name came about. But at the moment, what we've been given to understand is that yes, he was nominated by the Gujarat cricket body, and that's how his name surfaced, and that's how his name emerged as a contender for the post that he is tipped to take over.
Right. Thank you very much, Saurabh, for your insights. Do get us some more information about that drama that is unfolding in Mumbai.